Alright, good morning, students. Hopefully, you had a very good, very nice New Year, and as well as a Christmas. So, for this recording, we will cover about the framework that I have created a very long time and still being used by other students. So this framework was basically made for students who are just starting off in PHP development. So this framework will help you organize and use very easy and simple functionalities, and later on hopefully this will give you a head start in your web development journey. So for this recording, we will cover about how to download, install, configuration or configure, and the basic stuffs like creating page or link, an element, and converting our CSS or HTML and CSS file that we have created from our previous activities. So to start off, we can always download the framework by going to this URL or link. So if we go to GitHub, you'll see this URL, and to download it, just need to click on the button code, and you'll see the download zip. So once you have downloaded it, you'll receive a zip file, and you can always extract it in your local host or your local machine, or you can extract it in your test server. So on my end, I extracted it on my local host in my XAMPP folder, and you'll see it here that I created a separate folder called my site, and on the this folder I you can see the files from the framework. So if we're going to test it, you can type it localhost and then the folder that I created, which is my site. So if you open it, you'll see some errors here, which is to be expected. So we will configure that later on. So this framework will allow you to basically help you get a head start. No? Like for example, when you need to organize your file, or you need to quickly connect to a database. So that's what the framework offers. So for the installation, again, you have to extract it in your local development server, and the next step is to configure it. You need to open the config.php file, and you need to change the constant variables here. So for the DB host, so this is the URL for your database, and you need to add it the value, your own value, I mean. So let's do that. Let me close all of this and open a new folder. So you need to open my site, and in config.php you'll see something like this. So for now, let's just focus on these lines. So for the again, the DB host, since it's on my local machine, so I'll have to add the local host. So same for those who are using the XAMPP software. So you just need to set the user to root and leave the password to blank. So for your, if you're using your own test server, so you might as well check the correct user, password, and host. Alright, so since it doesn't, I mean the error, it shows that it says that it is unknown, the database called my site. So I'll have to create a new database. Let's say isatu. So once created, I need to update the database name or DB name to isatu. And optional, if you're going to set the site title or the name of your site, then that's fine. Let's say awesome site. So later on we can use these constant variable to our PHP files. So if we're going to refresh it, you'll see the error was gone and the title was changed. So that's how the first configuration that you need to do. Next is about the directory. So you'll see this directory in your Lorem Framework. So just to give an explanation, you'll see here the actions folder. So basically, the actions folder is for request and response. So later on, if you need to create or add a new record in your database, or maybe get a list of your users or your products from the database, then you can add your functionality or your code here in the actions folder. Next, in the assets, so basically all of your HTML, JavaScript, images, CSS files should be added here. That will help you at least no it will be very much organized. So you don't need to go to other stuffs here or add it to other folders. So you just need to add it in the assets folder, so you'll have a very organized file directory. And elements, so elements is same as, it acts as a function, but in this case it's a file. So you can reuse all of these files later in your pages. So you can modularize it and you can use it or reuse it anywhere. So we will cover this in this tutorial or in this video. And lastly are pages. So pages, obviously all of our page should be added here, because the framework will help you easily link or connect you to your page as long as you add it in this folder. Okay, so for the first tutorial, let's create a page for our framework. So to create a page, again, you just need to create a new file and save it in the pages folder. So like for example, in our pages, let's create a new file. Let's say let's say products dot php. So let's say, let's just display a text, hello products. Here we go. So I've already created a new page, and for us to access this page, we need to use this URL. So basically, this is what we call a query string. Is what we call query strings. So a query string is something that you insert in a URL, and you can attach a variable and its value. So for in this example, the query strings contain the variable page, and the value is name of page. So if you have covered or checked the tutorial that I said before, you'll know about these query strings. So let's do that. So your site.com should be replaced on your own domain. So in our case, it's localhost, and in our since it is a subfolder, then we need to use or specify the folder. Then we need to add the query string. Page is equal to products, and press enter. Then you'll see that the product page have showed up. So that's basically on how to create a page. So later on, we can easily create a link for this page, and that is the next tutorial. Oh, by the way, when you have to specify the query string, you need to omit the extension file, since the framework will already know how to locate the file. So there's no need for you to specify the extension file. So when you create a link, the framework provides a constant variable called site URL. So this um, constant variable already knows what's the URL for your domain. So let's test this out. Let's add it in our products page and just simply print the value. So if we're going to refresh it, then you'll see that the URL for your domain is localhost:80/mysite. So this is very much helpful if you need to migrate or move your files to another domain. Then you don't need to explicitly specify the URL for your domain, since it will be dynamic if you're going to move it to another domain. So that is also a way for us to create a link. Let's say we're going to put an HR here to separate and replace the double quote like that. So again, in our links, we need to specify the link or the href with the correct URL for our domain. So that's the purpose of the constant variable site URL, and then together with the slash. So slash basically separate the query string. So this will tell that we need to add a query string to our link, and you can specify what you want here. So let's say about about the another page. Let's say page another page. So let's say products, say shoes. Then if you're going to check the page, then you'll see that it goes to the page shoes. Obviously, we don't have that page yet, so it will display the 404 not found. So you can create as many links as you want as long as you specify the site URL. And then you can easily make navigation links for your user for them to roam around your site. So that's pretty much on how to create a page and a link. Next is we're going to create an element file. So an element file is basically a small, it's a file where you can reuse it anywhere in your page or in your site. So one of the examples that we have here is on the elements folder, we have here the login form, and it looks like this. So basically it's a HTML form where the user can enter the username and password. So for us to reuse this element, the login underscore form, so you can just, since it's a PHP code, you need to add it in a opening and closing PHP tag, and you need to call the function element. So this element is a built-in to our framework, and the argument is the name of the file. So no extension file. So login underscore form. And let's try to see what will it look like. There you go. Then you'll see here that there is an HTML form elements below the page, so we can do that or reuse it as many times as we want. There you go. So this will be very useful if we need to create a template for our page. And that is the next case or topic. So remember our activities last time. We created an HTML and CSS file, and on my end it looked like this. So what we need to do is to separate or get the upper part of our HTML file and then the lower part. So what we're trying to do here is to make a template where that all of our pages will have consistency. So it will mostly likely look the same. So as you can see on other pages or other websites like YouTube or Facebook, mostly the upper part and then the lower part is always the same. Where whichever pages that you go, the upper part and then the lower part is mostly the same. So just to clear, the upper part is usually what we call the header, and then the lower part is what we call the footer. Where was it? Let's. So this was the oh no, not this one. This was the HTML or CSS file that we created last time. So if you go to the about, it should look different, right? Or if you go to contact us, it should display the relevant content. So that's what we're trying to do. So if we check the code for our HTML, you'll see it's very long, no? So in that case, I created a short version. So let's say this is the actual code for our HTML file here. So this one. So basically we need to divide or separate the upper part and then the lower part. So it might in between the here and this one. So we need to cut the upper code and save it into a file, into an element file. So in my case, I decided that I'm going to add it in the header.php file that is saved in our elements folder. And same goes for our footer. Okay, let's do that. If we're going to analyze our page by using the developer tool, then you'll see that the upper part is somewhere in the nav code, from this section wrapper to the nav. So let's try to copy it and save it in the elements folder. In the framework, it already has the footer and header file. So let's just create another one. So header to.php, and so let's take the upper part. So what we checked earlier, the upper part is it ends in the nav element. So let's copy it and paste it in the header to that file. Alright. The next is the footer. So if we're going to check or analyze the footer is starting from the sitemap section down to the closing HTML tag. So let's do that. So let's create another one, footer 2, since we already have the footer.php. And on the sitemap, right, it was in the sitemap class. Oh, sorry, we are editing the wrong file. It was in the wireframe. So wireframe, it's and start from the document type and ends to the nav element. So header, let's replace that, and then the footer should be in the sitemap down to the closing HTML tag. There you go. So now we have created our header and footer element. So these will easily help us create our template. So back in our products page, let's close this. So back in our products, we can simply do this element and then the name of the element. So what we created earlier is header 2, and at the bottom is footer 2. So if we're going to refresh our page, then we can already see that the header was already added and then in the footer, but it doesn't as you can see, the HTML is, or the CSS is broken. That is because our in the header 2, we specify the style.css. So in our current code, the browser should look in the current directory, which is on this directory. But as you can see, there is no style.css. That's why it's broken. So in our case, in the framework, we should add our CSS in the assets folder. So let's try copying that. So let's open our old HTML code. I mean the file from our previous activity. So we should copy this CSS file, and since we already have it here, so let's just replace it like that. Now we need to link correctly our CSS file. So to do that, let's use the constant variable called site URL, and in our the style.css file can be found in the assets, and inside the assets is the CSS folder. So CSS slash like that. Okay, so let's refresh. Then you already have the CSS is basically working, but the other problem is that the logo doesn't shows up. So if we check our old HTML file, then you should at least see a picture of a shirt here. That is because the image for the shirt was not properly added. So as you can see here, the image should be in the images folder right now, but on the framework, in the current code, it tells the browser that we're going to look in this directory, but there is no images folder. That is because in the framework, the images should be added in the under the assets. So to do that, first we need to copy the image from our old code or our old HTML file. So we paste it here, and we should correct our link. So we copy it here, and it should be in the assets and in the images folder. So right now this is correct. So refresh. Then we already fixed, or we were able to add the image here. So as you can see, this is what we have added for the products page, and the upper part and then the lower part is only been added by the element or the element function. So we can create as many page as we want. So like this. So page, let's say shirt.php, and we can just copy our old code here. Then we can just call the header and then the footer, and in between we can just add the actual content for the shirt page. So for us to access the shirt, we just need to change the value for the page to shirt. So there's a lot to improve here, but as what you can see, it helps us save time by converting by using the element function. There you go. So so this slide already explained what I have said about the template using the element. So we can add as many um, content as we want here. Let's say like this, like that. There you go. So right now it doesn't look very much since we haven't yet added some or maybe let's just add it here. So in our style assets, CSS style, so let's add a style for our paragraph. Let's say margin, say 20 pixels. Oh no, I think we already added fresh. No, it doesn't apply. So let's investigate. Okay. So it seems that the browser doesn't expire the cache. So as you can see here in the CSS file, that the browser copied doesn't have the update version of our file. So in the latest one, it should have this paragraph code. So to do that, you could just refresh it again and again until the cache expires, or you can just use the incognito mode to basically purge the cache instantly. So there you have it. The margin already has the paragraphs now has a margin. So later on, if you're doing web development, one of the things that you need to be aware is the caching. So caching is basically a temporary file where the browser access instead of the original file. So the cache is pretty much helpful in the speed of the website. So it helps speed up the downloading process for the website. So that's it for this tutorial. On the other video, I will discuss about on how to insert or make use of the database. Okay, so see you in the next video.